I'm Kim Weisenborn, and this is my YouTube channel. I'm really glad you're here. Today we're going to be painting a really fun beach scene. Join me step by step. You're going to love painting this one. It's a great one. It's so loose, you're probably going to get really freaked out, but just stay with me and you'll love the results. Let's get started. We're going to do a painting from this photograph called Fun Day at the Beach. So we're going to start with the horizon line, which is not halfway, but I would say a third down from the picture, top of the picture. So you're just going to lay that in. I would suggest you don't use a ruler. If you're wanting to be loose, you don't want to use, the ruler is your enemy. So then we're going to find out where this little patch of sand begins. I would say it's a little higher than halfway between the horizon line and the bottom of the picture, just slightly above. So if I find my halfway mark here, it's right about here. This is to be about where it is starting. And how far does it go in? Oh, not quite halfway. So if I have a halfway mark here, that goes in right about here, and it comes down at a slant. It's not straight. And then it cuts in, and then it goes all the way to here. Okay, so we have the horizon line and then this little piece of blue sea, and then the crest of the wave starts there. So I would say you have about that much space, and then it sort of slowly comes down and ends right about halfway between the horizon line and the bottom of the picture. So I'm going to go to this guy. I would probably place him a little more in the thirds. That would be maybe your focal area. I'm going to draw a rectangle all the way down to where his feet are. Just a slim rectangle. That will help me position him, get him big enough. And then if I split that rectangle in half, I'll get his shirt line. And from there, his shorts are halfway between the shirt line and the feet. Feet are kind of in the water, so. And then you got the feet. So he's kind of straight and boring. So it's always kind of fun to give him a little more gesture. Like that's where we would change it from the photo. Instead of having his head right on top, I'm going to lower it and sort of tilt it off to the side of his shoulders. So it looks like he's looking down. And then his elbow would be halfway from the top of his shoulder down to his little past his shirt line. So you could have him maybe bending his elbow, reaching for something. You can put a hat on him. You could, if you put a horizontal line halfway through his head, looks like he's wearing a hat, which makes it even more interesting for people to look at. Have his other hand like that. Looks like he's actually fiddling around with, put something in his hand maybe. Maybe he found a shell. We don't really care. We just want to know that something is happening. Then his reflection is about as long, or if not longer, than he is, split by these little reflections. Okay, so there's that guy. And then right across and up the coast, a little ways, maybe halfway, is this little girl sitting on the beach. She's like a little triangle, I would say. And the top of her head, if you take the pencil line, you go all the way across, the top of her head's right about here on his body, so she's a little bigger than you think. If you relate all the other people to this guy here, you'll pretty much have everything in perspective. I don't know what she's doing here. She's on the beach. She's probably got her hands down like this. Put her hands down. She's sitting on the beach. Maybe a knee over here. And her head like that. She's probably playing. I've changed her a little bit. She's playing. You can change her too. She looks like she has a hat on. But if everybody has a hat, that's going to be kind of silly. So you want to draw the foam. It's not going to be a straight line. Give it a little zigzag Z here and there so it's not boring. So you don't want to do an S, a rounded. It has to be sort of a Z. See the little Z's, a little pointier, not quite so round. And then we have this little guy over here, this little guy in blue. He's at an angle down from her. His little feet are at his feet, a little lower. So we're just going to put him right about here, bottom of him. His little hat is not much higher than midway through his leg. So even though he's closer, he's really not that much bigger. So he's like a little triangle too, and he's easier to see. So here you don't have to make him up so much. Sometimes it would help me if I need, to find some action figures on the beach. I'll just Google figures on the beach or beach scenes with people, and you'll get some nice poses. That way you're not trying to make them up yourself. And then we've got these two people. The bottoms of their feet are not much higher than his, so they're a little higher up. So to paint this, we're going to use phthalo blue. Phthalo green. Opera. Cerulean yellow. We're going to start with a really wet, drippy brush. Dip it in our phthalo blue, and on dry paper, we're just going to blob it in, add more water as we go. I'm going to leave some white spaces, but keep it more to the center. Don't leave any white on the edge. That will draw the viewer out. Color doesn't have to be even. Stay fairly light. Don't make it so dark, because your figures are really going to be the darkest part of your painting. Your sky, not so much. We might even make it lighter than the sky here. So covering up those white spaces. I'm just going to take this and run it along the horizon line. But you don't want to leave that line there. You want to soften it up here and there. want to tilt the picture. The reason we tilt it is so that the paint moves without us having to move it. Tilt it back up. This way, that way. And you just watch it flow. You don't want to do too much of that. You don't want it to all mix. So you can add some water here and there to close up some of the clouds or leave some of the clouds. Leave them all if you want. Don't want it to be so busy though that you've got lots of clouds in there. You also want there to be some dark, a little bit of light. So don't want it to be all even. Okay. So now that I got that in, you can either wait for this to dry, or if you want a really loose look, just keep going. Okay, so we're going to dry the ferrule as we do the horizon line, just so there's not too much bleedage. And we're also going to go on dry paper. So I'm just going to run this along the horizon line. And the brush is dry enough that I'm not getting a lot of bleeding going into the horizon line. So just a little bit, but not a lot. And hopefully you have a nice steady hand. I usually use my little pinky to glide along the paper. You don't want to leave a sharp line like that, so I'm going to dip into a lot of water and some phthalo green, and I'm going to just work really quickly. Maybe not cover that sailboat up. I'm always covering things up by accident. If you did, you can redraw another one maybe. There we go. Go around your people. Don't have to go around them really perfectly. You just have to quickly get in there and soften that line up. Okay, so the ocean goes to that point, goes around that lady. So this is pure phthalo green I'm using right now. You can cover most of the people up and just leave a little white pop where they are so that you can at least have a light hitting them. So enough of that sailboat is good enough to leave a light pop. So I'm just going to keep going quickly. Don't have to be all smooth and perfect. It's better if it isn't. And as you get down to the coastline, you're going to want to quickly just do a little rough edge there. Doesn't have to be all rough, but some, just to create the look of a little white crest. Ooh, I might be getting a line there. I got to be careful. Yep, good. I managed to get there in time. Okay, so we got some changes here. Got a little bit of pink. It's a little bit too much pink and too dark. So I'm going to just water it down and help it swim this way. Maybe put a little yellow back in here. See sort of a yellow sandbar or something going on back there. So I just sort of, while it's wet, throw it in there. And the messier it is, the looser it's going to look. So messy's your friend. Okay. Just dropping it darker as we get closer to the crest of the wave. You can, if you draw it a little more cresty. Okay, this person seems to be sitting kind of in the middle. You can lose some edges. You don't want to have it all be hard. So in order to lose it, I rinse my brush, take a lot of the water off, and just take the water and rub it toward the edge so you can soften a few, especially around here or toward the edges. Don't really want to have hard edges over there. So I'm just going to take some blue and run a darker line through here. It just gives the ocean a little bit more feeling of something going on there. And just go back in over this. Every time I go back over, I'm always sorry though. I don't know why I can't learn. Now I'm just going to keep moving. I'm going to wet this first. This is a reflection, and the reflection has to be wet. You don't want to wet you don't want to wet through your wave crest. You want to wet up to it. And just cover everything. So now that you've got it, you're just going to mix the color. And it's just this phthalo blue with a lot of pink in it, so it's not that much pink. There we go. Not that much blue. Kind of have to go back and forth till you get it just right. I'm seeing a little bit more of this color. Water. Oh, it's all the way over here. I forgot to wet that part. Uh-oh. I'm making the orange with the pink and the yellow, and then you just can run a little of that through there too, because what's happening is the sand is showing through this, even over here even a little bit. More pink. See what to yellow. And then tilt it a little bit so you don't have to push it. And then the reflection is some of this. You want to pull like some of that out because she is white. Maybe a little. I'm going to make this girl reflect as well. This person, that person. And then I'm just going to put their color in. And whatever they're wearing, you have to decide, I guess. I'm going to have this person be wearing pink, so you put a little pink. That's a little strong. Maybe a little bit of yellow on there to tone it down. Ooh, a hot color. It'll make more sense once you get the people painted. Somebody might be wearing a pink shirt or green shirt. We'll give them a nice phthalo colored shirt. This guy seems to be wearing one. There we go. And then last but not least, you want to make sure that you run like a clear line through. Let's run it through this person. Break up the reflection just a little bit. Maybe one over here. Usually the further away they are, the thinner they are, so maybe one over here. Might have to go over some a few times just to make it work. Maybe too close together. Okay. Got a little bit of a cauliflower thing going there, but I'm just going to leave it for now. We'll see what happens. So then we're going to do the sand. While this is wet, you want to do the sand because you want them to touch. So because it's purpley color, I'm just going to very light, ooh, you want to add a little bit of purple to that so it's not so colorful. You're going to just touch that sand. It's going to be light. Let it touch. You want them to merge. And just keep adding more water and spreading it out nice and quick. Can run like, can be a little uneven. It doesn't have to be so one color, one value. Just to give it a little texture in there. And I lost some of the pool on this. Sometimes you can just, if you tilt it, you'll get the nice reflection as well. Okay, so I think it's time to put in the people, and then just see, after that we'll see how dark we need to go in the background. But it's time for the people now. So I'm going to mix a flesh color. Just a tiny bit of blue in there, just to tone it down. And what I do is I'm just going to fill in the legs. Arm. And I'm working on dry paper. Just going to fill this whole guy in with the flesh color. So I'm just going to give this person, let's see, a pink shirt. Anyone else? Maybe a red hat on this person. So I'm not really trying very hard to stay within the lines. I want it to be a little blurry. I think that the blurriness will add to the watercolory loose feel. Give him a bright green shirt. Maybe some bright blue shorts. Now the reason I'm using pure color with them is I want them, they're the focal point, and whenever you have a focal point you're using the brightest colors. I mean the sharpest edges. I think I'm going to keep her in white pants I think I'm going to have to go into another color just to get that. So I'm going to use a burnt, quinacridone burnt orange and ultramarine blue just to get a nice pure brown. And I think I'll be a little more careful with him. Put the hair on top of him. She or he had a hat. We don't really know what sex it is. So there. I think we'll make that hat a little brighter yellow. And then we'll sharpen it up later. Maybe she's got a little net in her hands. I'll just put the net in there. Okay, I feel the need to create more reflection under them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, with a clear brush, I'm going to wet directly underneath. Further down than I want to work so that has room to drip. So I'll start with this one. Oops. Oh, lots of pink in my brush. And just let it tilt it down. And then you could cut right through it. Sort of make this part fade a little bit. Same with this one. You want to wet it beyond the area you're going to work in. And little hat, little body. This one. Blush color. And she's got like a, just mix that dark brown with ultramarine blue and quinacridone burnt orange just to get a brown. You could use Van Dyke brown, sienna. Use a little water to help it flow a little more, be a little more dissipated. And then you can break through it with a little reflection. And do her or him. same thing. Doesn't have to match exactly, it just has to be within the color family. Get that green shirt in the reflection. You don't have to, it still reads as a reflection, but I just do it for fun, just to bring the color around a little bit. It doesn't even have to be in the right place. Kind of fun. Could even be a totally different color. See how it's not even the same and it still reads as a reflection. Put a little, see that yellow thing she's holding. Okay, I'm going to see, let's see, I'm going to add a few more footprints in the sand. So I'm going to wet the sand first, because I don't want them to be hard edge footprints. I want them to be kind of soft and more like a shadow. So maybe just a few. And they can't all be like the same distance apart. And just adding a little bit of shadowing. Oh, don't want to forget to do this. I think it might be dry already, Weeks. Maybe not though. It's a little, my brush is thirsty, it should cut through it a little bit, which gives it a nice. You can also do this later if you forgot with a scrubby. Just scrub through and swipe and you'll get a nice effect too. So now I've sort of put these over on the sand, which wasn't here, and I guess that's okay. It kind of gives the sand a wet look. I'm also going to see that there's, I wonder if these are shadows, but I'm going to add them. I think they help. Make it look like she's sort of standing on the ground. This needs to sort of soften up here. And it needs to have more of the color of her body underneath it. Then I'm going to add a little bit of shadow. This is on dry paper. The shadow under the crest of the wave to make it look like it's sitting on top of the ground. I'm just going to soften this edge with a little clear water. Soften this up a bit. I'm going to add something to the people in the back. a little more color. And maybe a line or two here to show that they're casting some kind of a shadow. Soften. Fill that in just a little bit. Fill that in just a little. Cut through that hard edge a little bit. I'm going to darken a little bit of their flesh tone. Right as their feet hit the floor. Bodies hit the floor. Just gives them a little look of like they're in or on the ground. Define that sepia a little bit more. You need to use this brush.
And now I think we're about done.